I'm making another video about my experiences with mental health problems, just because, as I said before, not enough people talk about this kind of thing, and I think that maybe if I kind of share my experiences, it might possibly help someone else who is in a similar position and doesn't necessarily have anyone to talk to about it. Okay, today I want to talk for a bit about medication for mental illness and my experiences with taking medication and some of the mistakes I've made and possibly which can help someone else to not make those mistakes. Okay, brief disclaimer. I am in no way an expert on medication. I'm a student librarian. I don't have a clue about anything medical or, yeah, I'm just completely clueless. The only thing that I can really talk about is what I've experienced, and maybe that will be a good thing, because I feel like a lot of people who are in my position and suffer from depression or whatever aren't, doctors or paramedics or anything like that, and like me, don't really understand what's going on there. So okay, I want to get one thing out of the way to begin with before I even start, because it's something that I've heard a lot and it really pisses me off. Having to take medicine for a mental health problem does not make you a weak person. And I know that a lot of people feel that way, and I think it's really sad because there's just no need for it, and I think that the more people feel like that, the worse their problems are going to get. And think about it this way: if your doctor said, "I'm very sorry, you have diabetes," would you feel like a weak person for then having to take insulin shots to help to control your condition? If the answer is no, then why should it be any different for a mental health problem? It just, if you think about it logically, it doesn't make any sense. And I think it's this whole idea that, as a society we have that, if it's something to do with your brain and the way you're feeling, you should be able to control it yourself, which sadly is not always the case, because I'm sorry, nobody chooses to be depressed all the time. I know, big shock there, but it's true. I know, sorry to shatter that illusion. Okay, so I am currently medicated and it's working really well at the moment. I am taking sertraline, which is kind of a general antidepressant, and I'm also taking lamotrigine, which is a mood stabiliser, which, as I am bipolar, is really helpful. I still, have good days and bad days, but the really violent mood swings are definitely under control since I started on this. And it's been working, and I'm very happy about that. Also, I just want to add that you may have deduced that I'm English, and as such, I am in a country where there is a National Health Service, which is awesome. But I realise that there is a difference between my situation and someone who doesn't have an NHS, like say in America, where you have to pay to see a doctor, you have to pay quite a bit to get any kind of medication. I think there are pros and cons to both situations. I mean, I have to say that I would not want to be without the NHS for anything in the world. I am so incredibly grateful that I have that. And I know that in the States, just, from talking to people in America, it's very easy to get certain medication because there is that kind of financial motive that doctors have. And I know that prescription drug addiction is a really big problem over there, which is obviously bad. But then in England, it is harder, even if you really do need certain medication to get it. You have to kind of go through a lot, jump through a lot of hoops in order for your doctor to say, okay, we'll try you on this, which, you know, it's good and bad, because it's good that people, you know, really make sure, but at the same time, you're not always able to really fight for your case if you're depressed. So with that out of the way, I'm going to talk about some of the mistakes that I've made concerning medication, and hopefully you might not make those mistakes if you need to take meds at any point. Firstly, big one, do not rely on your medication. I know, you know, I've just said, you know, if you need to take it, then take it and it can help. But one thing I've learned is that, especially in a situation like mine, I've got a chronic illness. I'll probably have it for the rest of my life. You know, if a medication works now, that's great, but it might not always work. You know, my condition might get worse again and I have to try something else. When I was first medicated a few years ago, I started out taking Prozac, which is, you know, probably the most famous antidepressant that people know about. And after a couple of weeks of being on it, I started to feel a lot better. I wasn't like suicidal anymore, or, you know, just really intensely depressed, and it was fantastic. And stupidly, I thought, oh my God, I'm cured. And I really genuinely did believe that that was it. I was set for life now. And so I, you know, stupidly didn't take that sort of downtime from feeling bad to think, okay, how do I sort of prevent myself from getting into that state again? You know, if I start feeling bad again, how, you know, maybe I should try and find a counsellor or something, or some kind of therapy. How do I, you know, use this positivity I now have to sort of generally improve the way that I think and the way that I am? I didn't do any of that. And after about 10 months, I just crashed, and I felt worse than I ever had before, and it was really bad, and I just wasn't prepared for it at all. I genuinely believed that the Prozac would work forever, and that was it. And I've since been diagnosed as bipolar, and I've actually found out that actually Prozac isn't great for people who are manic depressive. And thinking back, yeah, I was essentially manic for about 10 months continuously. I didn't really experience any emotions apart from some kind of weird nervous excitement. I was like that all the time. I was scatty, I was irresponsible. I must have been a bloody nightmare. And I just didn't realise, because, you know, I felt so good. And, you know, when you're manic, you kind of don't really care about anything. And I was just sort of up all the time. I didn't cry once in 10 months. And, you know, at the beginning, I thought, oh, this is great. Because, you know, for someone who was used to sort of crying to the point where I was in, you know, regular danger of dehydration, basically, it was fantastic. But actually, you know, crying is healthy. It's a healthy response to something upsetting that happens. And, you know, if, you know, you're sad, you know, have a good cry, and then, you know, you start to feel a bit better. And that's just normal. And it's not normal to not experience anything like that for almost a year. I could recognise if something was sad, but I just didn't really feel it. It was so weird. And at the time, it just didn't occur to me that that was a problem. So yeah, don't rely on it. If you are helped by medication, if you're feeling better, use that to think, okay, I am going to take this time to just sort of really build up my arsenal, if you like. You know, build up my defences so that when I feel bad again, I'm better prepared. So that's the first thing. Secondly, be prepared for it to take some time for your doctor to get the right kind of medical combination to suit you and to help you. That can be quite frustrating, but the fact is that it's really, really hard to effectively diagnose mental illness. And I mean, that's kind of inevitable because the brain is an incredibly complicated organ, and it's very hard to sort of, I mean, if you've got an ear infection, the doctor can say, oh, okay, like, take some antibiotics, and you know that will work for the vast majority of people. It's not that simple with the brain. And so, you know, what works for one person might not work for another person, and you might have to try various different things in order to sort of get it right. I mean, as I said, started out on Prozac, then when that didn't work, I was put on mirtazapine, and that just made me sleep all the time. And then I was on, I think it was citalopram, possibly, I don't know, I've been on so many. And that didn't have any effect at all. And then I was put on something else, which made me feel really bad. And then I was put on what I'm currently taking, the sertraline and the lamotrigine, and that's working really well. So it took over a year to actually get it right, and that was incredibly frustrating. But yeah, don't be surprised if that happens, because it's sort of inevitable. If you get it right first time, then you're very lucky. Lastly, I want to talk about side effects. If you're medicated, like with any medication, you may have to make slight alterations to your lifestyle. Drinking is one thing. I don't drink anymore. I can have one drink and then I have to draw a line, because otherwise it just makes me feel really bad. I was in New Orleans last year, and one night, you know, I had a few drinks. I wasn't, you know, really badly alcohol poisoning level drunk. I was, you know, a bit tipsy. I'd had some rum and, you know, I was having a bit of a laugh. I was so hungover. We had to pick up a friend from the airport the following morning, and I ended up being sick in New Orleans airport public bathrooms. I don't know why, I just admitted to that because it's really embarrassing. But there you go. Just shatter all illusions that British people are classy in any way. Sorry about that, guys. And yeah, I then had a really bad headache. I was basically hungover for 3 days, and it was foul, and I just thought, never ever again. It's not worth it. So yeah, that might happen. Then also, I just wanted to add that if your side effects are so bad that it's really having an adverse effect on you, go to the doctor and insist that you try something else, because it's, you know, if you're being made to feel really ill, or just something that's really having an adverse effect on your lifestyle, or, you know, your energy levels or anything like that, go back to the doctor and talk about it, because there probably is something that they can do, and just insist on it, because it shouldn't be any different from any other kind of medication. If it's bad for you, then just don't try something else. Okay, I think that is everything I wanted to cover. I will probably make another video soon, and thank you for watching, and I hope this has been helpful. And yeah, feel free to give some feedback on your own experiences with taking meds. Bye!